Okay, we're recording. If the music sounds a little bit jarbled, that's probably just Discord. So it'll sound better in the final product. It's the big one. Welcome to the next episode of VGXL. I'm your host, Daniel, aka Game. Joining me today is the beautiful Fefer from the channel Fefer. And today we're going to have a special guest directly from Momiji Studios. Is Matt, the sole director, developer of video game Fables himself. It's Matt.
I'm a little offended. I thought you were about to say the beautiful Matt, and then you said Fefer, and I got a little bit. It's okay. It's okay. I'm not mad, but like, it's okay. I'm not mad. It's whatever.
Just a little disappointed. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
the beautiful Matt. You know, I'll
okay.
edit that. I'll do it in post. I'll do it in post.
Right.
Now you gotta call everybody we interview beautiful every time.
Exactly.
Yeah. Somebody's gonna get mad.
They probably will. But yeah, if you're not following already, definitely give us a follow at VGXL on at VGXL Podcast on Twitter or Video Games X Life everywhere else. And where can we find you again, Fefer?
You can find me on Twitch at Fefer and everywhere else on Fefer Plays.
All right. And Matt, do we have can we follow you? Where can we follow you at?
Yeah. I'm most active on Twitter. So Twitter, my username is Momiji Studios. That's MOMIJI. STUDIOS. Did I spell that right? Okay, I hope I did.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the best place to follow me. Probably. I'm pretty active on there.
Throw all the links between the game and the Twitter and whatever, and
Okay.
or
Yeah.
even like throw your whole linked. I forgot your whole LinkedIn with all your links. We'll throw that in the description. So,
Okay. Yeah.
no worries.
All right. Exactly. All right. So yeah, if you've been listening, you know, we mentioned lightly in the last episode that we were gonna have a special guest and somebody we're gonna be interviewing. So and that would be Matt from Momiji Studios here. So welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah, so are we. Yeah, because honestly, you know, like I said, like we talked about on Twitter. Well, I don't know if I mentioned it, but you are our first person that we're interviewing that's developed a game and whatnot. That wasn't just like a friend or somebody close that we know. So, you know, you're popping our cherry on this episode. So hopefully we don't screw it up too much. But
I'm taking that comment and gauging how much I can say raunchy on here. So that's noted that you just said that. So.
Oh yeah, you know, we're not too clean, you know. We don't get too crazy, but we're not too clean either. We can make a couple innuendos and stuff like that. It's not a big deal. But yeah, so I don't know, where do we start? Tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you get into game development and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, my story is pretty much the same as any gamer, honestly. Like, I started playing games when I was about 3 years old. My parents told me, like, I would be holding the NES controller, my hands could barely, like, fit around it, playing Super Mario Brothers. Um, and then just from there, I just started playing everything else. I started playing RPGs pretty young, which I think is why I gravitate toward developing those.
Right.
My cousin gave us a bunch of NES games when I was maybe, like, 5 or something like that. And I played Final Fantasy 1 for NES and Dragon Warrior or Dragon Quest 1 for NES. That kind of took me off really loving RPGs. And I mean, I play every genre. I got into Zelda, Metroid, Kingdom Hearts is one of my favorite games ever. I got the Keyblades. I don't know how much I'm going to show on here, on my arms here. So
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Cool.
So you can say I'm a fan, I guess. Um, yeah, I just started playing a lot of RPGs mostly. Like those are the ones that really resonated with me the most. But I play a lot of other stuff like action games, Zelda. Um, I've played more casual stuff like playing like Minecraft, uh, Terraria, Monster Hunter, Pokemon,
Nice.
I play a lot of different stuff. So I think for most game developers, their journey is pretty much the exact same as a gamer. You just play games and you just love them so much. And I think everyone at some point has said, I would love to make games. But like how it is like growing up when, we grew up like in the 90s or something. It's not reasonable to be a game developer. Like that's not a realistic goal. So I think everyone just kind of brushed that aside. I actually stumbled across RPG Maker 2000, I think. I found a maybe not so legal copy when I was a kid, and I started like messing around with that, and it was like really cool. I was like, oh, you can like actually make games, and it's not super super hard. Um, so I started messing around with that, and I messed around with like RPG Maker and Game Maker and stuff, and eventually I made an RPG called Lucid Awakening. It was like a full game from start to finish. I'm still pretty proud of it to this day, especially just finishing a game, It was a pretty
Right.
cool accomplishment. Eventually, I made a sequel called Lucid Awakening 2. Not a super creative sequel name, I know. But that was my first Steam game, so that's when like I really felt more official. You know what I mean? I had a game that was on Steam, and like people could actually like pay money to buy this game that I created. I messed around with like some mobile development. I made some apps, and eventually I started teaching game development at a university, and I did that for about 4.5 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so that was around 2015, I think, or something like that. Um, and about that time is when I started having these ideas for video game fables. And I mean, it started off like as just very simple ideas here and there. It wasn't even like a big cohesive game. Um, so I would just have these little ideas here and there, and I eventually started piecing them together. And then I started making like a narrative, and I started making characters and like a world. And I worked on that like very, very casually as I was teaching. And the thing about teaching or doing any kind of work, it's like if you're working like a food industry and then you like don't want to eat that food.
Right.
It's the same kind of thing with games for me when I was teaching it. Like I love teaching and I love the idea of teaching and I love teaching kids to make games. Um, but at the same time, I would come home and it'd be hard for me to sit down and make a game myself because I was just like so tired of doing that for my my day job. So eventually, my brother started an IT company. He left his job he'd been working at for like 15 years, and he started his own company and doing like IT work and software. So I actually decided to move back down to where I was from, which is like an hour and a half of where the school was I was teaching, and I started working with him. And I'm so lucky that I had that opportunity because he basically said like, I could work my own hours. I could just kind of work how much I wanted to work, and that was perfect for me because I basically just what I've been doing is I just work like the bare minimum to pay my bills. I just live very modestly, and then the rest of my time I work on this game. So I've been working on this game like full time, maybe like 2 years or something.
Oh wow.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah. Sorry, I got on a big tangent. You asked me like, "Who are you?" And I was like, "Here's all this."
No, I mean I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
I'm interested. So no, that's definitely some awesome stuff. It's funny you mentioned RPG Maker because I dabbled a little bit with it on the not even on PC, on the PlayStation 1. There's actually a version on
Oh
PlayStation
yeah,
1,
it's
and
ass.
yeah, it definitely does. I don't think it has any keyboard support. I spent
No.
my first game. I made one like part of a game. It was called Final Destiny, and this is before Final Destination even came out. It was like a play on Final Fantasy, and Destiny is just like a typical word in fantasy stuff. So
Mhm.
I called it Final Destiny, and I had to put in all the text letter by letter with the controller.
Yeah.
And I was so proud of that little 5-minute game because I had the guy walk and he's like, he doesn't know where he is, and then all of a sudden he reads like this tombstone, and then I had it fade to dark and have the had a word scroll going up about who he was, and he's on a grand adventure or whatever, and then when the words go, you see like birds fly over. I had like all these little like things, and I learned like if commands and stuff
Mhm.
like that, and it was just amazing. I fell in love with doing it, and then I had bought a few versions of I bought and maybe not so much bought some versions of RPG Maker on PC, and always dabbled with it but never got deep into it. It just always became daunting, or always felt like I never just really believed in it enough to continue. But obviously I've always had a love for video games, and podcasting is where I love talking about them more than making them, because like you said, it's a lot to
Yeah.
make the games, so yeah.
Yeah. No, that's cool. And I mean, like, I think people kind of downplay, like, you said you made just a little 5-minute game, but I think that's more of an accomplishment than you might give yourself credit for, because like some people wouldn't even have the patience to do that. Like some people wouldn't even take that initiative. So I mean, when people make something, no matter how small it is, like I think anyone should be proud of that.
Absolutely. No, it took me 10 hours to do that, because I used to keep track of your time, your play time. It was 10 hours because, like I said, it was figuring out the game, figuring out the little commands, and it's a lot, and then, like I said, there was no keyboard support on PS4. Well, at least I don't think there was. If there was for that game, it was probably some peripheral or whatever that, probably, at the time, it wasn't like it's so easy to just order from Amazon or something. So I didn't think there was, even if there is. And so I just always, like I said, it just took so long. But yeah, no, it's true. It's absolutely true. Like that 10 hours, I was really happy about what I did with that game. And, and I think I even had it where, like, when you went to town, if you didn't talk to, enough people, it blocked you off. I had like, roadblock until you spoke to the right person. And then they gave you like, the key or the instructions, and then the person moved or whatever, things like that. So yeah.
Yeah, and also like another part of that too is you're talking about, like you said, like if statements and stuff, and how you have all
Mhm.
these like conditions that could happen. Um, I think that's also more valuable than people think, because in my experience with teaching programming to people and teaching game development is, once you understand like the basics and like the fundamentals of like code logic, a lot of it's just learning like how do I put that code logic into code. And
Right.
I had a lot of success with new students who've never done it before, with teaching them, kids who are completely scared and have never done this before, and they thought they could never do it, and they come out the class confident. And I think it's really just understanding the basics. And I got a lot of my foundations from RPG Maker as well. Like you're talking about the if statements. Once I got into actual like code, and I realized, oh, I've done conditionals in RPG Maker. Like in RPG Maker, I was just picking it from like a menu, but it's the same thing. It's the same logic.
Exactly. Just maybe different syntax or whatever.
hmm
That's really awesome. Um, and for the game you're working on now, like, what inspired you to make a game like this? Like, was it the art style? Was that always kind of like the art style you were thinking of going with, or did it eventually evolve into that? Because that's probably one of my favorite parts of the game, is how it looks.
Yeah,
Thanks.
absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, the art style was actually like the day one thing. That was like the consistent thing. So, um, it kind of started as me thinking, like the general thought process behind it was, what would it look like if you took an NES RPG and you like lived inside that RPG? Like, what do they see? You know what I mean?
Oh wow, right.
Because we see it from like this overhead view, and we see like this like limited view of it. And I was kind of like, what would it look like if you like saw that through a modern lens? You know, it's kind of similar to like, I guess it's not too far from the logic they use with like these HD 2D games they're
Right.
making, like Octopath Traveler and like the Dragon Quest remakes coming up. It's just kind of like, what would that look like from their point of view a little more? And that
I
was kind of the
see.
basis of it. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. No, that's yeah, because I was like I said, like one of the nicest things is the colors. I love the way the colors are, and that kind of art style. It's simplicity. I've always, I'm a fan of Super Nintendo style games and the older
Mhm.
games, because one of the greatest things about, like, let's say Zelda, Link to the Past, is that it's a timeless art style. It's something that you can play today and it looks great. Like, you're not bothered by the way it looks. Something like that. Even though, funny enough, I always said, like, PS1, like, who could ever do anything with that? But there's a actual studio doing that right now with Puppet Combos, making all those
Yeah.
horror games with PS1 graphics, and they're doing something
Mhm.
like I would have never ever
Yeah.
expected. Because I'm here thinking like, oh yeah, Super Nintendo, you can't, you're not gonna replicate. Who cares about the first generation of 3D games that looked horrible? And I guess I was wrong about that. But even this style, like I said, the whole flat textures and the way they look, the whole Paper Mario kind of idea, like, that's something that 10, 20 years from now, it'll still look great. As long as it's in some kind of HD, it's always going to look amazing. That's
Mhm.
awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
Was there anything you want to say, Fefer?
I guess just kind of adding on to the how nice and colorful the game looks. I actually just really like the the battle system. And I've been kind of grinding the game these past few days, I have to say. So I don't even want to say any spoilers to anybody really listening out there, but I really like what you do with each of the different bosses. You do something really different with each of them. And between just kind of like the little mini games between each of the dungeons that you do, or just how can I kind of say this without saying it? The the one you have to babysit for a
Yeah.
bit. Yeah, that was really fun.
So you got there.
That,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a
yeah,
crazy one. Yeah.
yeah. That was really fun
Did you
though.
get through it okay?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very interesting, challenging fight.
Yes. It's
Fun fact about
definitely
those are
fun.
actually named after my friends. Those
Oh,
characters.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay. I guess I'll let you know when you get their games.
Yeah, I
It's
have. Yeah,
you'll.
I'm not that far in just yet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like right now, I'm not. I'm bad at this right now. So we probably should spoke about this a little bit more. But so the game you've made and released is called Bug Fables, and it's a turn-based RPG, colorful turn-based RPG with kind of a like 2D, 3D art style, right? That's what we're talking about.
Damn, I wish I made Bug Fables. He's making bank.
Oh, sorry, did I say that? Video
Yeah.
Game
Oh, you
Fables.
didn't. You didn't say that.
You know why? Because that was my next question. That was gonna be my next question coming down. So, Video Game Fables is the game that we're talking
Yeah.
about. But it, since you say you've been working on it for a couple of years, did you know anything about Bug Fables? Was it like when you saw Bug Fables, you're just like, what the hell? I'm making they took my freaking game. Well,
Yeah. No, it was kind of like I didn't really know about Bug Fables. I saw the name was similar, and I was like, it's fine. I don't even remember. I'm not saying I came with up before seeing Bug Fables. Like I said, my memory's trash. I could have seen Bug Fables first and decided it was fine. But I didn't like purposely like take the name. For me, it was so actually okay. Let me explain a little bit about the name where it came from. Just so the Bug Fables developer doesn't come murder me or sue me. But
right.
basically, originally this started out very early on. It was going to be a series of short games that were very short, self-contained stories. So like this whole thing with like the story of Video Game Fables, the one we play now, that was going to be a much shorter, like just very brief like story. And I was thinking of what's the word for a short story, and it's fable. That's what a fable is. It's like a short story basically.
Right.
Um, so and that's why also it's fables plural, even though it's just a single game right now at least, because it was going to be, like I said, it was going to be a series of games. And then I was like, okay, well, it's going to be a series of short stories based in video game worlds. So I was like, okay, video game fables. So that's where the name came from. So yeah. But
Uh-huh.
go ahead.
Oh no, that's what I was gonna say. I was just because, like I said, I was making sure I wasn't crazy, so I had it there. That was the slip of the time. I feel like just editing that. I'm just seriously gonna just edit that out. I feel so
No,
stupid.
keep it. Get me the drama. Get me the controversy. So I get some reviews.
Taking credit for Bug Fables.
Right? No, but but yeah. Let me close this so I don't say that again. 'Cause like I said, I wanted to look at it to see, because I was like, it does have a similar art style, but like where it's kind of, because that's also like a flat, animation. So that was really the thing. But yeah. So I don't know. How do you so if you're selling somebody the game, why don't you describe your game, like if you were selling it to someone? Because I don't think we've
What's
done
your
a very good
pitch?
job just yet.
Oh, I think you're
Yes.
doing great. Yeah, so my like elevator pitch for it is just giving a brief summary of like what the game is. And it's a lighthearted RPG set inside of an abandoned RPG game world that hasn't had a player in decades. So essentially, the backdrop of the setting of this world is just like a traditional cliche RPG, but you're not like playing that cliche RPG. That traditional RPG is what the characters of this world have been acting out for decades, just like kind of doing this like a play basically. But that gets like, as you know if you've played it, that whole script gets completely thrown off and ruined when the princess saves herself from the prison and she's just like tired of this whole script thing. She's tired of the RPG. So you're not playing through this RPG, but the world has been created around being a a traditional RPG. It's one of those things. I suck at explaining my own game. It's hard to explain until you actually play it because it's like that's just like the backdrop of the game.
Right.
And one reason I try to like set it apart and really explain it to people is because I take issue with a lot of like satire and parody games. Not to like talk crap, but like a lot of times when I play like a parody game that's based on like, there's a lot of like parody games based on like our like traditional RPGs, and a lot of times it's like there's not really like a punchline or there's not really like anything new about it. It's like they'll be like, "Hey, see this reference?" And it's like, okay,
Right.
what's okay, yeah, like what's next? What's the punchline? What's the joke? You know what I mean? Or they'll be like, here's this really crappy thing that traditional RPGs used to do. So now go do that crappy traditional thing and be bored while you're doing it. But it's a joke, so it's okay. It's funny. It's ironic. It's like, no, it's like you're just making someone do something crappy. So like a lot of what I do is like, uh, a lot of what I try to do is like I always keep that in the backdrop of the game. Anything that's like cliche or like boring, I keep that in the backdrop. Or if someone makes a joke about something being cliche or boring, they're not gonna make the player like do it. So I try to like innovate on it and make things fresh. And like for the turn-based battle system, I was discussing this on Twitter with someone the other day. Uh, my theory about why people don't like turn-based games, and everyone can have an opinion. Like some people legitimately might just not like turn-based games. But I
Right.
think a lot of people's problems with it is they don't actually dislike turn-based games. They like a lot of or they dislike a lot of the baggage that comes with it, with how people design them. Because a lot of people are too afraid to like innovate on, and this is true for any genre. Like a lot of times when people make turn-based games now, they just do what's always been done without questioning it. So I said the number one factor, in my opinion, is speed. So I think people don't want to play turn-based games because they're slow. And like you play like old like Dragon Warrior games or like Final Fantasy, they're very slow and like they were cool at the time, but like they're just a drag to play through now. So like I said, okay, I'm gonna make this turn-based RPG very fast because there's no reason I have to lock myself in and say, well, turn-based games were slow, so I guess they have to be. Like, there's no reason to lock yourself into that. So I said, okay, they're gonna be fast, animations are gonna be quick and speedy, and you even have that timer system where you get rewarded for thinking fast. And like Fefer was saying about bosses and stuff, it's like what I tried to do was each boss have some kind of very unique mechanic about them. Um, and some of them, like you've seen, yeah, you just are doing the regular battle system, but some of them you are actually doing like some completely different thing on top of that and like juggling those two things. Like with like in the horde area, like you're basically doing like a third person shooter and switching back and forth between that and the RPG battle system. So, yeah, so I don't know. I think
Spoilers. I haven't gotten there yet, so that's awesome.
sorry. I tried to keep it kind of vague, but that was not very vague. I don't know how I got on this trail. I'm sorry. I'm very like I don't even know what were we talking about?
Don't apologize. This
What's
is
going
great.
on? Oh, we're still doing the podcast. Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
Bug Fables.
What was the original question? I don't even know.
I was asking, how'd you get that shirt? But I'm just
Oh
kidding.
no.
I'm just kidding.
Well, I'll tell you.
um, no, that's awesome stuff though. Like keeping it fresh. I do like the battle system. I grew up loving Final Fantasy. I still. It's funny you say that about the turn based because I don't know if you saw in it made headlines about Final Fantasy 16. Why they're not gonna have turn based in this one? I'm like, first of all, I'm sure nobody was expecting it because 7 Remake and 15 didn't have it, and 7 Remake did a pretty decent job of kind of making it an action and having some kind of like hybrid of what the old game had by picking. I don't know if you played it, but you can
Yeah.
pick like magic, and you can so it had some stuff left in it, but it's mostly an action game. So honestly, what's funny is that I just with the Steam Deck, it's a great anything handheld's great RPG machine. So I was playing Persona 4 because it was just it's the only one on Steam, and I never really played it. And then 5 and 3 are coming out soon, so I was like, let me play 4. I always hear so many great things about Golden, and it kind of does. It tries to do that, like what you said, like make things a little faster. It has like a whole fast forward thing. If you're just gonna attack and not do magic, then you can just have everyone just fast forward, kind of do the battles, which is a nice touch. So in video game Fables, I do like that it is it is a little more fast paced, like you said, with the clock, trying to make decisions quick, as well as I like the crit system the way you did that, where it's instead of magic, your typical magic or whatnot that runs out, it's like you have to get a crit. and then your move activates. But pass more like support moves are just there. Like it's like a quality of life advancement. It feels like from a standard old school RPG where you have to attack and that's slower. Your magic can run out and things like that. So, and I found it. Honestly, I found it still challenging enough. Where I'm like, actually died at one point. I was like, oh crap, I was just like if you play, I like I've been seeing the value in turn based, so it's been nice, and I like like I said, the changes that you've done in this game. I have to say are they're unique enough that it doesn't just feel like just a simple, like anybody can make an RPG Maker game, but this feels definitely like you put a lot of thought and, to craft it into its own unique battle system. And I gotta say, it's definitely nice.
Cool, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
especially I don't play turn-based RPGs much at all, but I've just recently been branching out to different things. I've been trying out different card deck building stuff, and my main things are rhythm games and platformers. So this is something really just kind of out there for me, and I'm really totally enjoying it.
And
I
like
feel
that
like
it
I'm
has
pretty far.
And I like that it has platforming portions in it too. Like in the
Yes.
dungeon was nice. That first dungeon, I was like, you have to jump and go on. I was like,
or even in the middle of a boss fight. I don't know, maybe.
exactly. No, it's been like because if I'm being honest, there's a lot of indie games out there, right? There's a lot of games, and you play them, and it's like you see the effort, but they're not always fun, or they're not always that unique, or it's like again, I'm not crapping on anybody's journey, in the games that they make, because they're doing way better than I could, but it's nice it was very refreshing to see that it's not just like it doesn't feel like your first rodeo, and and it has its own uniqueness to it, that it's like I'm engaged, like I was stuck on it, like I was legitimately stuck on it. So yeah, I just want to applaud that as well. But yeah, where are we? What are we doing? Sorry, I lost my place here.
Fun. I can show you my dog if you want.
Yes.
So you said you worked on it for a couple of years, more or less. Like, I mean, well, you started ideas, I guess, like early planning in for 2015, you said?
Yeah, around that time, I had some weird ideas floating around.
I see. And then you ramped up, 2019 around is when you ramped up?
Yeah, probably. I don't. Like I said, my memory's trash. I don't remember the exact time, but it was probably around 2019. Yeah.
I see.
Oh, do you want? I'll actually give you guys a little exclusive, a little secret exclusive thing. All right. So one of
Ooh.
the first ideas I have for this game. This is gonna sound wild, but like how wild this game is, so it doesn't sound too wild. It was gonna. This sounds ridiculous when I say it out loud. It was gonna be a story of the handsome princess. So it was gonna be a curse that got put on. I guess it would have been Aru at the time, where she got cursed to grow like a big mustache, and that's where the name, the like curse of the handsome princess came from. And she was like trying to get rid of this like curse and not have a big old mustache. I don't know where that was gonna go, but that was one of the initial ideas. And it's so weird when I say it out loud. I don't even know like where it came from, where it was gonna go, but that was one of like the first. That was one of like the first character designs in my head. So there you go. That's your exclusive little nugget there.
That's
You heard it
awesome.
here
That we'll never talk about again.
That should be a DLC side story there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Was there any like, what would you say, were there any hardships, like, like roadblocks, anything that like through the development of the game?
Yeah, literally every single part, every part of the way for every day.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like halfway joking, but for real though, like it's so hard. Like being a solo developer, especially just doing everything yourself, and like just like having the motivation to keep going. And like when you hit, I think what was really hard for me was when I would hit creative blocks, like I hit writer's block and stuff like that.
Right.
It's so hard because you feel like I'm pretty much like a workaholic. Like people in my life can tell you that. Like I'm basically a workaholic. So like when I'm stuck where I legitimately don't have something I can do and be a workaholic with, I get really like stressed out about it, and that actually feeds into my mental health, which affects the creative block more. So it's like a really bad circle I get in there. And it would happen so frequently that it's just like it was a constant struggle. So I would say that was probably the hardest part for me, was just breaking out of each of those little circles every time they'd come, which was very frequent. Getting in the writer's block, and then that would affect my mental health, and that would affect me being able to break out of it even more. It was just that was probably the hardest part for me. If I had like specify like one thing.
Right. No, I feel that. I feel that
Mhm.
100% because even something as what a podcast seems so simple, and it's like the motivation is a big one. It's like even just to
Mhm.
sit down, to record. It's like I have to keep up with things and write. I like to be organized, so writing outlines, and then I had partners at the time that just weren't on the same level. So when I was motivated, they were half motivated or not motivated at all. I had to. One thing I don't care for, what's hard for me to work in a team is when other people, it's like, it's hard enough to have my own energy down, but then when it finally is, when I force myself through it and then I have to help you get your energy up, it's a little bit rough. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah.
that's why this, even like I say, even this very podcast has gone through its ups and downs with like, people staying motivated. Cause at first Fefer and I weren't doing it. And then it was just like, you know what? You live here. You want to record with me? Let's record.
A very convenient podcast partner. I'd say.
Yeah. And she was like, no. Tell me not.
Yes.
What made you not want to do that though? Because I mean, you stream. Was it like what
It's
part of it was?
different.
Yeah.
Streaming, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I feel like just sitting here in front of the camera, just kind of talking to, and not having to respond to like chat. I guess
Mhm.
responding to chat just feels just different. It felt easier.
Yeah.
It feels easier. And so when we started, I'm just like,
Yeah.
hi. Hi, I'm Fefer. Hello.
That makes sense. I can understand that.
So when I'm on stream, then I'm just like, just a dumb clown, just
Yeah,
talking all
goofball.
this doo-doo to people, bullying people on stream and stuff,
It happens, and it's a journey, just like with everything else. I was like, you'll get better. Just be there to let me talk. I need somebody there. I'll talk at you, and if you decide to say something, well, great. Like it didn't even matter. But yeah, and it's been going well now. So. But yeah, so and then the writing has been pretty good. Like before this, I know in your first game, because I bought when you were in Fefer's stream that time, I ended up buying your other game on Steam. What was the name? Remind me the name one more time.
Bug Fables.
No, not Bug Fables.
No, it's Lucid Awakening too.
Oh yeah, that's right, Lucid Awakening. Right. Yeah, that whole.
Thank you. That I appreciate that.
No, absolutely. I was like, well, let me check out the other game while we're waiting for Video Game Fable to come out. And that whole opening was a lot of writing. It was describe everything that happened in the first game, and it was just I was like, wow, this is a long opening, but it was good.
Yeah.
The writing was well done. Like, have you always written like short stories or like had a knack for writing or?
No, I mean the only like the earliest thing I can think of writing was just making Lucid Awakening 1. Like I didn't really have any kind of writing history before that. I just started.
Okay.
I mean, I've always had like a big imagination, and like when I'd be playing with my friends and stuff, like I don't know if you guys did this, but you like go out and get sticks that are swords, and like you go fight stuff in the woods and stuff.
Absolutely.
I guess you guys are in New York, aren't you? Never mind, you don't know what woods are. But
we have Central Park.
Oh yeah, you're fighting crazy hobos out in Central Park.
Exactly.
But yeah, so like I guess even when I was doing that kind of stuff as a kid, like they would be like, "Oh, let's go fight a dragon," and I'd be like, "Okay, but what's the dragon's background?" And I'd have like this lore in my head for like what we were doing. So I think
wow.
I think I've always kind of been like that, but I never actually like wrote anything until I was making Lucid Awakening 1.
I see. Wow. Okay. And so this whole script you wrote completely by yourself, like with no help. Wow, that's pretty awesome. Did like when it comes to like things like proofreading and all that, like absolutely nobody read over the script or anything like that?
No, I should be more open to like letting people proofread and like test my stuff more. Like I'm even sketchy about like people like play testing my games. Like now that it's out and pretty bug free, I can kind of admit that I didn't actually have anyone play test through the entire game, which is a big no-no in game development. So
Right.
don't tell anyone I did that. But now that town is kind of like working okay, it's like I can kind of get away with saying that. But if it was like really buggy or something, I wouldn't be able to say that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm very like I don't know what it is. I think it's kind of like a control freak type of thing where I'm just like I'm very protective over my work, and I think it's
Right.
like hard for me to let someone just like proofread or like really like go through something.
I think I know what you mean, especially when you hear that. Why'd you write that? And you don't want to hear,
Yeah.
people like. Well, for me, I don't care for if I have a creative process. It's like last thing I want is to hear you're questioning my work right now. Like maybe later, but like let me get through it. Right now, I don't want to. Shut up.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's also hard for me to like if someone's like playing my game or like watching like a trailer or something, I don't like to be in the same room. It makes me feel like really awkward and uncomfortable, and I don't know why.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's very strange. I don't know why.
I think, like I said, I think I resonate with some of that just because I feel like I would feel the same way, or unless it really depends. I think for me, it would really depend on how happy I was with the product, or if
Mhm.
something like that. I mean, I guess confidence for me would be the biggest thing. Um, but yeah, no, I hear where you're coming from. Yeah. So how's it feel so us talking about us what we're enjoying about the game? Is that making you feel any kind of weird right now, or anything like that?
No, it's like fine. I'm in a mode now, especially when it's released, and I'm really just like starting to let myself relax a little bit for the first time in like 3 years. It's becoming easier for me to like let people talk about it and not feel so uncomfortable, and like whether it's critique or praise, it's like I'm getting better at just like accepting that for what it is.
Right.
And like, if people are praising it, then it lets getting better at like letting myself uh what's the word for it, like letting myself feel good about what I've done, I guess.
Right.
Because it's just it's been a very hard development process for me, so I'm learning to be a little like healthier mentally about it.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, and the music's been pretty good. How did you meet the person who did the music?
I'll be honest, I don't remember exactly how I met him. I talked to several musicians. I think when it got down to a point where I started needing to buckle down and get a musician, I think I just asked on Twitter, and I didn't have a big following then. I had maybe like 100 followers or something. Um, and I found a few people, and like I just did a lot of research online. I searched for people, and I talked to a lot of people, and I never had anyone that was like bad. Um,
Mm-hmm.
some people just weren't like a good fit. Like some people had like really good music, but it was more just like orchestral stuff that would be great if I was making like a more serious RPG or something. Um, and there were several people had who I was thinking about going with, so like eliminated to a couple people. And like I said, my memory's trash, so like I'm not a good podcast guest because like people ask questions, I'm like I don't remember. Uh, but yeah, I don't remember exactly how I met him. I think he might have reached out to me. I could ask him. He'd remember. But he was one of the ones, like one of my top ones that really I felt like his music had a good vibe that really fit the game.
Right.
And then eventually, we talked about like pricing and like how much work he actually wanted to do, and like if he'd want to do like a whole soundtrack, and it just he ended up working out the best out of all the people. And like I said, there's no one that was like bad. Like if anyone's watching this and they talk to me, like don't feel like I hurt anyone. I was like, this is trash. I don't want to work with this person. He just ended up fitting all the criteria for me the most.
Exactly.
Yeah. And his name, I should mention his name is LevC EGM, LEVC_EGM. Just give him a shout out. He did an amazing job, and
He did. Mm-hmm.
yeah, he really did a good
Yes,
job.
he
I think
did.
not just good in the sense of like this music is good, but also in the sense it fit the game very well.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Like
That's
like I said,
mhm.
I could have hired one of these people that makes like really good orchestral music, and it would have been amazing, but it would have fit the game. I could have Final Fantasy music on, and it wouldn't really fit.
Right.
Um,
I know
yeah.
exactly with the colorfulness and the kind of happy-go-lucky but silly tone of the game. It's definitely fits. Like that's why we wanted to bring it up, because it was like I was like, this music's pretty good. I was like, who did the music for
Yeah.
this? Because I'm like, I was wondering if you were. I'm like, are you a composer as well? Like, geez. Like,
No, that's like my one weakness is music. I mean, I used to play piano. Like, I think I could probably, like, if I took time, I could definitely write music. But I mean, it would take me years and years. I just don't have
right.
that time and energy to learn something new. It's just not something I want to do.
Exactly.
I also want to mention, speaking of him, someone on Twitter actually just posted one of his songs from the game. It's 140 VGM. They have like 40,000 followers, and they just like posted one of his songs on here. So that's really cool.
Oh
Awesome.
wow.
Um, and what is the future of now that the game's released? And do you think you have it in you to make another game, a sequel, or something? Do you?
A nap is in my future. I don't know, a coma for a couple months. Like I don't know. I mean, people ask me that, and like, what I tell people is like I always have a bunch of ideas. Like there's so many games I want to make, and I even have like some working prototypes for games. Like there's solid games I want to make, and not just like very vague ideas. Like I have games that I want to make, but for now I just need a break.
I hear that.
Um, but like, there's still so much work to be done with this game. That's the thing, is like I don't have time to move on a new project yet, even if I wanted to, even if I had the energy for it. I mean, there's so much marketing I have to do. There's so much, doing patches, like maybe even adding more content.
Mhm.
I'd like to add more content to the game, just some free DLC and stuff. But I don't know. It's just I I'll say I do have ideas for games. I have ideas for games related to video game Fables. I don't know what's next. I just need to focus on getting this product out that I have to its full potential. I need to get more sales. I need to get more publicity. Um, it's a good product. I just need to get it in front of people.
For
That's the
sure.
hardest part.
For
I
sure.
see you all over Twitter, so you're doing an
Yeah.
amazing
Nah,
job.
and I appreciate people like you, like especially like you guys who I don't want to say like took a chance, like it's some big risk, but like that you guys like take a chance on this game that like from some guy with like 200 Twitter followers, like some unknown studio, unknown game, that people like you that take a chance on that and like see something and say, I like this thing, and it doesn't matter if it's not really popular.
Exactly. No, I
You know,
hear
it's,
you.
it's yeah, and it's people like you who help these smaller games become a big game. So, I'm really grateful to, you guys and people like you who've helped me along the way.
Not a problem, not at
course.
all. Exactly.
Of course.
Especially like I said, I made sure to like put some time in, this past week, and like I said, Fefer had really enjoyed the demo, and she was just raving about it. So as we were going through it, I was like, let me try the game out, and like I said, thankfully, Steam's work that they've already put into the Steam Deck is made it very easy to pick that game up and play there. I don't know how hard the process is, but that might be something. Have you thought about, or do you know if is it a hard process to try to get Steam Deck verified, or do you need to own your own Steam Deck to do that, or?
I was just looking at that the other day because my friend is a developer, and he was talking about, he has a Steam Deck, and he was talking about it too. And he was saying, I think he's not really sure how to do the process either. And I went and looked, and I found like the Steam documentation for it, and I didn't have the options they said it should be there. But then I read a little note down there. I think they said they're rolling it out to developers like over time.
Oh, I see.
So not all developers have the option to get Steam Deck verified, from what I understand.
I see.
Yeah, but I think like, are there even that many games that like don't work on Steam Deck though? It seems like it's pretty solid, isn't it?
It is. I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of games on Steam, right? So it's like out of everything right now, I mean, out of all those games, I think it's a few thousand that are verified, quote unquote. Because then you have verified, and then you have playable, and then you have untested. So it's like, for the most part, most things that say let's say are playable, it might have maybe it'll have small text, or maybe you have to use the mouse or something like that. What they mean, all they mean by verified, from my understanding, is that the game essentially works. And I don't think they're not testing from beginning to end, but the game essentially works. when you boot it up with no tweaking, so you don't have to, I think it has to automatically set like its resolution down to the maximum of 1200 by 800. What is it, like, 1200 by 800 or whatever 720p is, and 720p or 800 p or whatnot, and that the controller works, I guess, like there's no other tinkering, pretty much. Like pretty much it needs to just work out the box. And
Okay.
whatever, like I said, I'm not sure 100% of the fine details, but for the most part, I think the general idea is that it should work right out the box when a player picks it up without having to do any tweaking or anything to it. So I think something won't be verified if like it takes you out of the like it has a menu that you have to type things and like you have to use the keyboard. I think that might not be verified because that's an extra step. It's tedious, things that can make the player feel uncomfortable. And we're talking about like the layman, like the like the casual player, I think is what they're going for, because that's a big thing. When so I'm all over Twitter, always trying to follow trends and news and what fanboys are crying about and what's happening in the more on the I guess journalist side of things. And that's people are the naysayers who don't have a Steam Deck yet. That's what they cry about. Oh, I don't want to have to tweak my game. I don't want to have to do this. I don't want to have to do that. And everything verified, you don't. You know what I mean? And that's why you want that sticker on there. You want that.
Yeah.
Because it tells the player, hey, I don't have to do anything. I could just play the game. I know it's gonna work. I know the controls are gonna work. I don't have to worry about connecting a keyboard or using the software keyboard or using a mouse to navigate some of the options. And it could just be the smallest thing that I think takes away that verification. But playable is still a good tag to have, but verified I think is really what any developer would want.
Okay, that makes sense.
From
Yeah, I
my
wasn't sure,
understanding, from the way they're marketing it, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure like what the specifications or standards were actually.
Yeah,
That
so
makes
that's
sense.
that's what I think it is. I think it's just that it works with the basic controls, and that it works. And I'm sure there's a few more caveats there in the fine print, but I know that's like some of the every time I see a game that I want to play that's not verified, it gives you a warning about why it's not verified. That's usually what it is. It'll say, oh, you have to fill out this, or you have to use the software keyboard, or the text is too small, so you may not be able to read some of it. Things like that. Like it's always some arbitrary, very like, really, like, okay, I get it. You know what I mean? Like, but it'll
Someone
work.
with a PC, it's like not a big deal, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So and I get
I
it.
mean, I was just gonna say I've had a few people ask me like if it works on Steam Deck, and I just told them the people that have tried it on Steam Deck said it works well. So I meant like you Fefer, you posted a tweet about it. I had one or two friends trying it and said it worked good. So I just tell them like I don't want to make a guarantee and get sued or something, but I just say like the people who've played it told me it works fine.
So far so good. Yeah, I must say
it's
that
been working great.
exactly. Yeah, like no
Yeah.
music issues, no audio issues, like everything so far has been great. No crashes on it, and not that many things crash, but it's that Proton layer, the layer that converts the the Windows to Linux, seems to work well. So, and Steam's working on that. So yeah, they're trying to, since it is a PC at heart, it's like you're not getting the console quality, what you would expect from a console like the Switch, where one would expect the game to just work to well, and not, obviously you can't even do anything because it's a it's a locked ecosystem. But speaking of Switch, is that a goal? I feel like this is a game that could run on the Switch. Is that a goal for you? Is that something that might be too hard or out of reach, or?
Yeah, that was like a day one goal for me. I've been gunning for that from the start. It's in the ball's in Nintendo's court now. Like I sent them the approval, or like I applied to be a Nintendo developer, and like I sent them the game and everything. I didn't send like a copy of the game. I sent them like details about the game and like the Steam page and all that. So I've applied, so it's really just up to them. So maybe if people bug them and poke them a little bit, I don't know.
Hey,
I don't know if they, or that can make it worse. Don't do that. No one do that, please.
Right at the next Nintendo Indie, just spam the YouTube like video game fables.
Yeah. Yeah, that was like a day one thing for me. It just seemed like such a good fit for the Switch. It feels like a Nintendo game.
Right.
So like that was not even a question that I was gonna put it on Switch. I'm just waiting for them to slide in my DMs at this point. Like,
right.
yeah. So and I do have a friend They put something on Switch, and he said it took like a year to get approved. So
Wow.
I think yeah. So I think so I don't know. Like it's probably a combination of things, but I think the main reason it always takes longer for like a game, like a Switch release is always like a year after like a PC release. And I think it's partially because Nintendo takes a while to approve them, and then also you can't even like start developing and optimizing for Switch until you get approved and everything from them. Because to like, so I use Unity, and it's actually pretty easy to like export something to another system. But consoles, you need like a special SDK from them.
Mm-hmm.
You need like special stuff from them, basically, that you can't just use. So basically, I have to get approved, and then I can start working on the Switch version. But uh, as far as I know, it's pretty much just like optimization. Like, there's not really much you have to change. Like control prompts, you have to change obviously
Mm-hmm.
to Switch controls. But most things is pretty much just optimizing, as far as I know. Someone who's actually developed for Switch can probably tell me I'm absolutely wrong, but to me, I don't really see what else you'd have to do besides that, honestly.
I think that's more like whatever porting functions there are, and from because we kind of heard from Pfeiffer's other developer friend that she mentioned earlier, Super Shiggy, that she ported that Rockwind, right? Was it Rockwind?
Yeah, Rockwind. They're actually currently in the works of porting that to the Switch, and
Okay.
one of her friends is completely coding the game from scratch because he's just a genius and he's already like working on all of that and is really good with codes
That
and
game's,
stuff.
but to be fair, that game
Uh,
has been out for a while, so I'm sure it went through the
It's
same
that's been out
hardships.
for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no,
Yeah,
it's
'cause
really
it was
awesome to hear the the other side of things, because it's like from I'm always reading about video games, but never like the insides of how the inner workings of how some of that goes. So it's
mhm.
always interesting to hear things like that. Like that's one of the things that's always been a goal on this podcast, is to eventually like start getting people on and talking to developers and even indie devs, because we're all trying to make it in video games, right? So it's like it was always like something I wanted to do to get more insight, because it's always been very interesting to hear stuff like that. So it's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it for the everything I have written down. So what kind of food are we eating?
I tell Tom, I said, just like mail me some food, just like put some of that rice in an envelope.
Right? Wait, what changed? Talk again. Your microphone bugged out a little bit.
Oh, me?
Oh, there you go.
Is mine? Hello, hello, hello. Okay. I
Okay.
don't know.
Did you hear that, Fefer?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
I thought I was
It
crazy.
was weird, yeah.
It sounded like
What
it went
happened?
to
Did I
like it went to like
did I
speakerphone or something.
transform or something? Oh, what? Maybe it did. I don't know.
Oh, that's so weird. I think the video went out of sync. Probably Discord acting up. But I mean, that's all I really got. This has definitely been an awesome conversation. Hearing about it. Like I said, I think if anybody's made it this far, definitely check it out. Video game Fables. I said that right? Okay. Video game Fables on
Mhm.
Steam right now. Works on Steam Deck. as far as I've gotten and Pfeffer's gotten, it's worked on Steam Deck, and
Mhm.
and what is it, like $20 right now on Steam? Like seven.
It's on sale for, I think it's like $17.99 right now, and there's some bundles. There's one bundle that comes with Lucid Awakening 2, which is my other RPG. There's another bundle that comes with the soundtrack, which you should definitely get, and there's one that comes with Lucid Awakening 2 and the soundtrack. But definitely get the one with the soundtrack, because I give him 100% of the profits from soundtrack sales.
Oh,
So
nice.
definitely support him and buy the
Good.
soundtrack bundle. It's just a few bucks extra, so
Yeah,
definitely do
I
that.
bought. I actually did. That's the one I bought the other day. So perfect. All right.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
thank you.
I was I don't know, Pfeffer. Was there anything else you wanted to say or mention?
I mean, I noted all the questions that I wanted. How about other, maybe like sometime in the future, do you think maybe trying for like Epic or Game Pass or anything like that? Is that
Yeah,
something
that'd be
you're
cool. I,
down?
I actually applied to I actually applied for Epic. I haven't heard back from them. The cool thing about Epic is they take less of a cut. Steam takes 30%. Epic takes, I think, like 15% or something like that. There's debate, like, and I've debated with some other game developers about, like, is it better to get that extra price cut on Epic but lose sales on Steam, And some people think it's better just to have all the sales on Steam because you get like visibility and like algorithm boost when more people are buying on Steam. So even if you're making 15% less money per sale, you're getting more sales to end up making up more of a profit in the end. So it's like a debate. I don't know if anyone has any like real statistics on it.
Right.
I'm actually kind of in the camp where I think it is probably better just to have it on Steam. But I have literally nothing to base it on, so it's just out of my ass basically. But that's like my initial feeling. But if Epic applies, approves me, I'll probably put it on there too. But yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
so Switch is my number one goal. I just need Nintendo to approve it, but
What
for
about like
now,
PlayStation or Xbox?
yeah, I would like to do that too. My only hesitation with that is they're very expensive to develop for.
I see.
Things could have changed, but back with like PS3, Xbox 360, like around that area, from what I've heard, and there's a lot of like NDAs, so it's kind of hard to know what information is true. But from what I heard back then, at least, you would pay like upwards of $3,000 for like a developer's kit from them. So it's
That
like,
sounds about right.
yeah, for like a publisher, like a big studio, like that's not that much money. But for like just a little poor boy making a game like me, like that's that's a chunk of money that would it be a worthy investment? And it could be, but yeah. So in the future, I'd like to do that too, probably. But I'd have to get a lot more revenue back from like Steam and Switch from that first.
Right. No, that makes sense, and I think you're right though, because you have to buy the development kit, and that's probably I'm pretty sure that price hasn't gone down. I'd if I had to guess, I'm sure it's about $3,000 to $5,000 easy. I'm sure. It's like 'cause I used to I'm a nerd with stuff like this. I remember reading that like to get into consoles, the dev kits were always really expensive. Like you said, unless something's changed, because
Yeah.
Sony was under that controversy. I mean, this is a little different, but if you want it to be on the front page of like the PlayStation Store, you have to pay $25,000. You know what I mean? Like imagine.
Really?
Yep.
The pay, and that's kind of scummy.
Yeah. I think both of them did that. I think Xbox might have been a little bit less, but yeah, I think if you want to be posted like right there, and I think that was why in 2017, 2018, it was like the indie gold rush, if I'm not mistaken, for a lot of indie devs. I don't know if you've heard anything like where like, I don't think you had to do that for Nintendo. So Nintendo, the way their store worked was like they threw it on the store, and it was that if you released that week, your games were in the first 3 rows of the first couple of rows of whatever launched that week. So they were getting so much visibility, the indie devs from Nintendo Switch, and that was a big deal. So that's I could see that. That makes a lot of sense. I don't know if they still do that, or if they, I don't think they've changed the way the store looks. So I'm pretty sure they still do that. When you're just looking at the general releases, it's everything that's released. Every arbitrary small little game is right there on the top. So, maybe hopefully when that happens, that'd be awesome if you get a nice uptick in sales on the Switch, because that definitely feels like a perfect Switch game for the colors. That on the OLED will probably look amazing.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that would look really good.
I'm sorry, I'm telling you, the graphically, that's what the game is great in its own right, but graphically, I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I'm a sucker for colorful games, and always have been, and so it's like seeing seeing how everything looks, and even that interesting 3D to it. Like I was fighting those what was it, the celeries or whatever.
Right.
Like celeries, yes.
Yeah. They're just
One of the many
bouncing
bad
there.
puns in the game.
Yeah, but then right next to them is like a little like pixelated, like the 2D pixelated guy, and I was like, oh, like I don't know, I enjoy the art style a lot. So yeah,
Thank you.
I think like I said, I think that on the Switch, especially like people on the OLED, even with regular, it's gonna look, it looks great. But yeah, so definitely love to see that. Hopefully people enjoy that. But yeah, I think I'm fresh out of questions or things to talk about. Did you have any questions for us? Anything you want to know?
No, I don't think so. I think covered it really well. Actually, no. What are you eating though? What are you eating tonight? What's the plan?
Oh, tonight we had shredded chicken sliders.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with like
barbecue
it's
chicken
barbecue sauce
sliders.
that she made. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
Lord.
I made
Okay.
mashed potatoes and
Okay.
some corn on the side.
Oh my God, I'm getting hungry.
Where
I
are
can't-
you based out of?
Delaware.
Oh, you're okay. You're right there. You're not too far from us. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I have friends up in New York.
Yeah,
They come down here sometimes.
nice. How old
Yeah,
are
I can't
you?
think of any questions off the top of my head. I'm 33.
Oh, okay, sorry, I, didn't, I don't know if, I was supposed, if that's okay to ask.
No, okay. Yeah, I'm
And-
78.
And your mother's maiden name and social security number? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'll DM it to you.
Yeah, no, I'm 38 myself, and Fefer's 21. So.
That was my guess. So.
Yeah, right. No, but I think this was great. This was great. Thank you so much for you said we took a chance bringing you on here. Thanks for giving us your time and take a chance. We're not the biggest podcast, but thank you. We do have somewhat of an audience, so and hopefully this will bring more people to your game as well, more people to the podcast. I really appreciate you being here and spending time with us.
Yeah,
I know it was
of course.
actually
This is
you
awesome.
that took a chance on us because you were the one who emailed me first. So
Oh,
thank
you mean like with the game originally?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. That's how this all
Mhm.
started. I thought you saw it on the demos thing. So, so you hit a good one. That's right. I completely forgot about that. Fefer's
Yeah.
always playing some indie thing. The goal for the podcast eventually will be more of an indie arm because I like to, I love video games. I'm terrible at critiquing certain types of games or rather I'll play whatever if it looks fun, if it sounds interesting, I'll just play. There's so many people out there that it's like, you're watching a Nintendo Direct or State of Play or something, and it's like as soon as an indie game comes out, everyone's like, putting Z's in the chat or they
Trash.
trash or it's a bad game, and it's just like
Still song when.
right.
Yeah, me, I'm like perking up when I see that, because there's gonna be
Me
something
too.
fresh that's not boring and it's something innovative,
Exactly, and that's something middle shelf and smaller games where is something that we don't get from now. Double A's are kind of have made a comeback with things like focusing on things like that. So that's been cool. But it's like is the indies that I feel like if the AAA market ever crashes, indies will never go away. Well, they'll be here forever.
Yeah.
On some form or fashion, whether it's just back to web browser games or Steam, whatever's in Steam, at the moment, the thousands of games there. So it's like, and that's something I appreciate. I think there's not enough love out there for indie games, and I really wish people would see that. You know what I mean? Because you never know what you might find and have a great time with, like we are right now. Like I probably wouldn't have heard of the game, whatnot, and you reaching out, and it's like I'm really enjoying the game. Like I fully intend to finish Video Game Fables, like 100%. Like I fully intend to finish the game. And I don't say that about a lot of other small, because people have hit us up before and we'll try out the game, we'll try the demo, and it's like, all right, it doesn't always hit, and it's like, what can you do, right? It's like, so, but this one definitely, like I said, if you're listening, I highly recommend.
Absolutely.
Thank you. That means a lot.
Colors, the
Yeah.
story, the music, the actual gameplay, the gamey bits.
Yeah, the gamey bits.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's got us hooked.
Yep. I'm telling you, I think we're gonna see you on a Summer Games Fest, or we're gonna see you at the Video Game Awards one day. Like, VGXL always believed in me.
They sent me rice in an envelope. I'll never forget that. Give them a big shout out.
Exactly. Rice and oh my god, you're gonna get a greasy ass envelope. Like, what the hell? But it'll be delicious. Just made a big ass pot of rice. What was it? Yesterday, the day before, that came out super delicious. I was like,
Yeah, that's what he was talking about.
I need to get the recipe. Or is that like, do I have to like pass a test, or is there like some kind of like ritual I have to do to like get the
recipe. I don't care.
Go look at the back of the
Gotta get the
freaking.
right pot though.
It is the
Is
right
it?
pot.
It's the pot.
Yes.
Mm.
So it doesn't come out like
I'm telling you,
mush.
I'm telling you, it's a witch's cauldron. That's what it looks like every time I see it.
Exactly.
It's this big like.
And every Latin mom has the one that they swear by, that they've had for 35 years. Like my mom had this old pie. I think she still might have it, if I'm not mistaken, forever.
Yeah, she's made rice in it recently too. Yeah.
Yeah. But well, yeah. So I guess we can start playing this out here a little bit. All right. So, but yeah, I hope for the best. Hopefully the marketing campaign keeps going strong. I'm definitely gonna, be on the lookout to keep, retweeting and doing whatever we can on our side. And yeah, like I wish you all the luck, man. I really,
Absolutely.
I hope you can keep going. And after you take your 6-month long nap, the creative juices will be flowing again. And yeah.
Yeah. Best thing I can tell people, like I said, just tell people about the game. Word of mouth is so good for indies, and like you might think telling your friend about it isn't a big deal, but it's a big deal for people like me, So like tell influencers that you want to see the game, like tell like YouTubers, streamers, tell your friends about it, put it on social media. That's like the best thing you can do. I mean, also buy the game obviously, but besides that, yeah, just tell people about it.
Absolutely. No, and that's something that definitely we've been trying to work on. Same thing with the podcast, like, tell people, hey, just let people know. I've had people who I've met in the street that I'm like, they look around my age, maybe a little younger. I'm like, you game? You like podcasts? I'll kind of get a feel like, you watch Twitch or anything like that, like well, since you do,
Yep.
might want to come check out my stream or my podcast. It's like always got to be on that grind,
Yep.
But again, thank you so much, Matt, from Momiji Studios with Video Game Fables. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks.